Hey everybody, what's going on? Rob Cesternino back for another of our Survivor 48 Tribe previews. Today, we talk about our takeaways about the Vula tribe here with the guy who went to Fiji to go meet them personally. Give it up for Mike Bloom.
Yes, here we are, Rob, ready to welcome in the last week of our preseason coverage, at least from an interview perspective. And we're talking about quite the voluptuous tribe in Vula.
Okay. I don't know if I did justice to the intro. I don't know if I could do it as well as Stephanie did it for you, but we'll be talking about all 6 players of the Vula tribe. Guess what, YouTube? To the chat, to the commenters, we hear you.
We see you, and so you will see the castaways.
Yes.
We will put up the pictures as we're talking about them. I know a lot of people said that last time.
Because I got the sense that we talked about what was the last one? I'm going to say Lagi. Okay. I was going to say a tribe that was already on Survivor 47. Lagi tribe. And I think that's a lot of people just might have raw dogged it and just jumped in and listened to us.
You love using that term. That was the term you used, right, with the riding on the plane without earbuds. Like, you have a raw dog pound of uses of that phrase, Rob.
I was gonna say how much I like it. I'm just gonna say that it's so funny to me. But anyway, Mike, we're just because I think some people are just jumping in and maybe they didn't listen to all the interviews and they just want to know. Okay, so we'll give you like some quick assessments of everybody. And that's what we'll do. Of course, that's all here in our We Know Survivor podcast feed. Get ready. We've still got a ton of stuff still to do in the Survivor preseason. Mike still has 6 more interviews to drop on you, both in our podcast feed and on YouTube. And so we are off to the races here in this very fun Survivor preseason.
Yeah, so when it comes to Vula, it's interesting, Rob, because I did see some scuttlebutt amongst the community, especially when the cast dropped and we saw these tribe divisions of just looking at the makeup. You know, much like back in the day, people were quick to cry purple edit. People are quick to cry in the new era. Okay, what's the disaster tribe? What's the tribe that surely is going to lose all of the immunity challenges? For what it's worth, the Vula tribe, I think, would be the first to tell you that, especially given the distribution of physical strength.
Yeah.
They may not necessarily be up there. But what I will say, I said this last year, I will continue to say this, is that I remember the very first day of Survivor 46, when I saw that Nami tribe get off the boat, I thought, okay, they're basically as dead in the water as the sea they just came out of. Like, they cannot be up to snuff. Lo and behold, they end up becoming the most dominant tribe in the new era, if not in Survivor history when it comes to purely statistics. So don't judge a book by its cover.
Don't judge a book by its cover. But, you know, even Kevin in this tribe, who we're going to talk about in a little bit, identifies 3 muscly dudes who are out here. And he said, surely one of them will be on my tribe. I'm calling it now. There's 3 big, strong guys. Each tribe will have one, and I will be with one of them. And he is with none of them.
He is the muscly dude now. Yeah, I mean,
he said, "I'm not going to be the strongest guy in my tribe." And he, that in fairness to Cedrik and Luigi, sorry to
Luigi.
He's I'm going to call him Luigi.
Justin did say Luigi more than his own name in his interview, so I think it's
Justin,
fine.
who works at Luigi's. But I could see him as a Luigi.
Yeah, I could see that as well. But yeah, I agree. I mean, I think it's always fun to make these suppositions. Caleb did the same thing, if you remember, with my interview, where he like voluminously ran down how the tribes would be split, and he's like, okay, Austin, Sifu, and Bruce are definitely going to be split up between the 3 tribes. The lesson is, listen, I absolutely love it when you try to make predictions, but never try to put yourselves in the shoes of these producers in many ways.
Okay, so we're going to go through everybody. We're going to give you a little bit of how we're feeling, my first reactions to them. Mike has had a lot of time to think about these folks, and then we'll give you a little sense of how we think it's all going to go. And then, of course, check out everything that Mike has going on at Parade, where for even more about these Survivor 48 contestants. So let's talk about Cedrik.
Not so young Cedrik, but Cedrik has a lot of experience with Survivor, a lot of experience in general. He is the 3rd oldest cast member this season at 45, and he is our colorectal surgeon. Rob, we'll see if he gets to the pointy end of the game with his set of skills.
Okay. I don't know where you're going with the pointy end of.
Listen, I'm only one man. There were only so many butt puns I relented from making.
I so pins and needles of what is Mike Bloom gonna say next? Mike, I don't know if Cedrik received all of your like I think he's heard them all before. I think he was like he was very patient and gracious with you.
He's got to get used to it, dude. The second he said he was not, he was one of these rare cast members who is not going to be hiding his career. So you know, the second he's going to say it, he's out here with like a bunch of some people are half his age. They're going to be making puns out of their rear end, for lack of a better term, when they're out there. You got nothing but time.
Look, we, of course, lived through Dr. Mike. We're going to get through this here with Cedrik. And I love Cedrik. I just like, it was, seems like just like the nicest guy ever.
Yeah, he is so calm and so measured. And I feel like, especially in a cast that, as you are starting to see over these interviews, is incredibly personality filled, it is really nice to have that like sustaining force of what I imagine is going to be calm. Now, for all we know, Cedrik could just absolutely wake up on the island and choose violence and absolutely go ham. But considering like that he has, you know, a quite literal stability that gets him through a medical profession, I imagine that he's going to bring something similar here, putting the OR in Survivor and hopefully do really well from that capacity. I don't see an environment where he necessarily is gonna, you know, make this big move or be perceived as so like flippant and all over the place that he's too big to keep in the game.
Yeah, I am very interested in his career as a TV medical researcher. I loved what he was talking about there. He's gonna stay ready, so he doesn't have to get ready. He wants to play like Earl and Suri, and I totally get that from him.
Yeah, Earl, I think, is a really apt comparison on his part. He talks all about this quiet confidence, the fact that he was a force, but he was subtle at the same time, to the point where like he never was really targeted, right? He kind of had Yao-Man as a shield or surrounded himself with the syndicate. So I would not be surprised if Cedrik looks around and says, when in Fiji, play like Earl Cole.
Okay. All right. Just don't play like a cello when you're a violin, says Cedrik. Okay. Some of his likes and dislikes. Likes a tall blonde. Could that be Stephanie?
It is, yes. There were not many other tall blondes. So he's got good vibes from Stephanie, from Kyle, from David. And with Mary, he was trying to spin it, I think, in a positive way of like the, oh, well, there's this Asian woman who I'm not picking up a lot from, but like that makes her mysterious to me, and I want to crack into that.
There was one guy that he said he wasn't really loving. Do you get figure out who that is? It's like these are all like sort of like police sketch operations that we're trying to do. Like there was somebody that they have a nose. It's like, okay.
It's like playing a big game of Guess Who, right? Does your person have a hat? Yeah, so he said that it was a guy that he surmised was in his mid-30s, late 30s, thin, dark hair. I would imagine that's either Shaheen or maybe Justin.
Uh-oh, okay. But he doesn't rule anybody out, Cedrik.
He doesn't seem like necessarily someone that's going to come in, maybe unlike some of his other tribe members, and is like, I'm not picking up good vibes from anybody. Again, Cedrik seems like a very plaintive personality that is willing to entertain any and all conversations. Yeah. And I think that's going to do well for him in terms of longevity. I think where I worry, Rob, is, you know, would Cedrik have the capacity to make that cutthroat move? Or is it a matter of like, yeah, we'll bring Cedrik to the end because while he is so personable and so nice and pleasant, if you have resume checkers in the jury, that might not amount to much.
I think Cedrik will do what needs to be done if necessary. He's making life and death decisions, so I'm not afraid that he is going to be not up to the moment when it happens. So let's see, you know, where he goes. Like, I do just wonder in terms of like, you know, keeping up with like these like frenetic younger people who might be all over the place. Like, is that going to be Cedrik's scene? Is he going to vibe with that? We'll find out.
Yeah, I agree.
And I will say Cedrik has a great message about people going to get their colon cancer screenings, colonoscopy.
Yeah,
Cedrik, you don't have to worry about me. I'm good.
Well, I think what they should do is, you know how Jeff usually does his casting plugs? I think throw Cedric in there sometimes as well. You know how Jeff made Rome host tribal council one time? Throw Cedric in to do a bit of a PSA.
And let him sit in the chair?
Yeah, about like, well, listen, you could keep sitting in this chair if you get your colon checked out.
Okay. Yeah, maybe just like, all right, I bet you thought I was going to tell you to apply, but instead, if you're over 45, get your colonoscopy.
Exactly.
Like,
Listen, Jeff talked about families watching Survivor, but we know the typical demo that comes with CBS. I think it's a message they need to hear.
Okay. All right. Anything else on Cedric?
No, I'm ready to fit him into the big puzzle at the end of this because we know he loves jigsaw puzzles as well.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about not Luigi, Justin. Justin, of course, who works at Luigi. And all I was thinking about, first of all, I got so hungry listening to Justin talk. And I'm like, hey, we're doing a live show in Boston, April 9th. Patrons, tickets are going on sale very soon. I'm like, we got to do a field trip to Luigi's.
I was going to say, have Luigi's cater it, have Tiffany Seeley bring in the pizzas, because that's always a hit at these live shows. Might as well, because, listen, Luigi's is popping off. I think it's going to become the place to be after this, considering all I would say the marketing Justin put out there, but it does not seem as surface level to me, Rob. It truly does seem like this pizzeria is this man's passion, and that is so admirable.
Yeah, and I don't know what it's like. You know, I am a person who, you know, has built my business, Rob the Podcast, but I didn't grow up in a family business. I don't know what that's like to, and maybe someday Dominic and Anthony could tell you about what that's like to sort of like grow up around the business, and it's sort of like a second nature. So that must be so interesting and unique to have, like, the business is like a member of the family.
Yeah, I do wonder, you know, I'm glad that his mother is on the mend, and hopefully there's no like succession like scenario as to who's going to inherit Luigi's moving forward.
Yeah, that could be a new show coming to
L to the Uchi.
Yeah. But for Justin, yeah, what an interesting road he has. And he's like Stephen Fishback, a graduate of Yale. And so he has like this Ivy League education, but then decided to, you know what, the family needs me. I'm going to run the pizza place.
Yeah, and so it's pretty incredible that, again, we have all of these people lying about their careers because they don't want to hide the skills that are contained therein. But this is a guy that is able to kind of come in and lift open the box and be like, yeah, I just own a pizzeria. That's all that I do. But he has this really interesting background where, like you said, he went to Yale for political science. He went to the Massachusetts State House where he serves there and was on his way to law school before, you know, everything happened with his mother. And so he makes the comparison, but like there's a little bit of Fabio energy here, Rob, where I do think, and he is the youngest guy on the cast. I do think if he wants to, he can kind of play up this like goofy younger guy energy of like, yep, I'm just the quirky pizzeria manager who got cast, you know, don't look any way from me at all. The athleticism aspect, Rob, is also very interesting to me. I have dubbed this crust fit, where where Justin said he doesn't have a gym membership. He's just lifting flour and ingredients all day.
Yeah.
Like if this works, this might be something he can market down the line.
Yeah. Come on in. And then basically you get to do a workout and then burn off the calories from Luigi's.
Yeah, it reminds me of like that Nathan For You episode when they tried to disguise a moving company as like a workout movement.
Yeah. Puya told me yesterday he's never had parm anything. So Puya, come to Boston. We'll get at least chicken parm. I don't know about veal parm. Okay.
You don't even have to hold hands with Boston Rob to get that promise as well. So Justin would probably want to, a fellow Boston Survivor player.
Hey, it's me, Boston Rob, and if you want the best pizza in Boston, go to see my friend Justin at Luigi's.
Also, get your colon checked out.
Yeah, Boston Rob does all the commercials.
See you in your dreams, Bianca.
Yeah. All right. Justin, there's a friendly girl. We don't know who that is.
Yeah. I'm not entirely sure. He was a little bit more on the vague side. He did say that he was picking up good vibes from a guy with the glasses, which is Cedric. And the girl who was wearing the Bruins shirt, which, I mean, imagine from a hockey perspective, that's got to be Eva.
Not the same Bruins, but he likes hockey. She likes hockey, but no, not on the same tribe. Okay.
Yeah. So don't talk to him about Tom Brady as well.
Yeah. Well, I was loving Justin until he said that he want his loved one to be Tom Brady.
Yeah. I mean, listen, he's a Boston guy, born and raised. Like he's a loyal guy, Rob. I think that shows maybe the loyalty that he'll stick with.
Okay. All right. Let's talk about, Kevin.
All right, let's talk about Kevin, because Kevin has a lot of interesting complexities to him. I really like Kevin. Kevin has
what a fun guy, Kevin.
It's such a fun personality. And again, I really love this duality, and I very much reverberate with it as well, of like, this is the guy who, from a day-to-day perspective, is very analytical and works entirely in facts and figures. But he is also such an ideas guy at the same time, and admittedly comes in with a bunch of these ideas bouncing around his head of what he wants to do.
Yeah, I loved his story of how he found Survivor, and he was watching it just for, like, basically the visuals, and sort of like it appealed to him. But then he ultimately falls in love with the show. He is such a social butterfly. He wants to charm people. He feels very much could be kind of like a Caleb.
Yeah, so as much as I assigned this label to Justin, I almost feel like Kevin could out Fabio, Mr. Pioppi, because Kevin talks a lot about, obviously, his previous history as that front man at the Abercrombie and Fitch store. He talks about paying a lot of attention to his personal appearance. He already has a recipe for a coconut mash hair gel. And he talks about, like, I am more than happy to play up the himbo role. I am more than happy to make people think that I've got nothing going on up here, when actually I have an MBA and was number one in my class.
Yeah, I don't know if that's going to work for Kevin. He just seems so socially aware. Like somebody like that has to, like, come across as like they have no idea what's going on. I just think that just interacting with him, that he is so friendly and so outgoing. I don't think that you would think that he's just like a dummy dum-dum like Fabio.
I don't know. I think the way that he speaks is so, like, and it almost has that, like, fun golden retriever energy where, like, it is so smiley. And I agree that it's not exactly as the way that Fabio came across, but I do think the way that he speaks and his energy levels does help underestimate him a little bit. And I think as well, if he is perceived as, like, the physically strongest person on his tribe, which, again, to your point, Cedrik does a lot of running, is very good cardio-wise. We talked about the crust fit with Justin. But I think that, if Kevin gets shoehorned into being like, okay, you're the brawn of our tribe, he is more than happy to swing into that while also coming up with, like, a billion different ideas that he wants to do at the same time.
He's not the biggest guy, but don't count him out when it comes to athletic prowess. He talks about his tennis background with Mike.
And he also put in a lot of work. Like he said, this is something he always wanted to do, but he took a lot of time to, like, essentially put on the weight and get in really good shape. He's a big Barry's boot camp person. And so
Barry's boot camp.
Yeah, remember that? That sounds like a throwback.
What is that?
You never heard of Barry's Boot Camp before? You never saw those, like, infomercials on the TV in 2003 or something?
No.
Oh yeah, that was like I wouldn't say it was like one of the big at-home fitness tapes, but it was definitely a significant one in the early 2000s. I did not realize it was still around. Maybe Kevin is keeping them in business, but yeah, I'm just really excited to see what Kevin is going to do, because I feel like he is somebody who, while again on the surface might play a bit like, yep, I'm just around to, lift things and look good. He does have a lot of plans. And so I think he will be somebody to try a lot of things. And we'll see either if they, fly or if they fall.
Now, Mike, you were out there. You saw him in person. I feel like you're talking about him like he's pretty jacked.
I mean, he is, like, fairly... Again, I would say it's tough with this cast, right? I mean, he listed the three of Captain America, Hulk, and Falcon. But I think Spider-Man is an apt comparison in that Kevin is a little bit smaller compared to them, but, like, is very fit for his frame.
Okay. His strategy, he wants to have Kevin's family tree. If only Kevin was on Dondi.
Exactly.
With Parvati and David and Dixon.
Well, it is CBS, and Kevin can't wait to make his own family happen on this. So, yeah, I mean, it seems like less of a family tree and more like he just wants to endear himself to everybody and make it seem like he's a member of their family to the point where they wouldn't want to get rid of him. It doesn't even seem like it was like an outright, okay, first I'm going to get rid of the uncle and then I'm going to ditch the
No.
cousin. I think it's more so just an idea of like, get on a familial basis
Yeah.
with everyone by showing off different parts of your personality.
Not to prop up any of Luigi's Pizza's competition, but to paraphrase, when you're with Kevin, you're family.
Exactly. It is. There's a nice Olive Garden will hopefully weed by the
Olive branch. Yep.
Exactly. Held out an olive branch. I mean, Kevin also lays out probably a more explicit plan in the follow-up answer to that entire plan, which is, all right, I'm going to find my meat shield. And then I'm going to join up with the guys. And then we're going to pull one girl over for fear of a women's alliance. And then we're going to make sure we go to tribal council at least once in the pre-merge. And then I have to wait until I make a move at like final 8, final 7, final 6. I mean, on paper, this would seem like don't write any of this in ink because that's the exact wrong lesson to take away from the new era. Kevin does admit later on, though, to his credit, that he feels like, all right, I'm making all these plans now, but I have every intention of changing them should things happen. Like, he is ready to already prepare for the worst case scenario.
I love hearing everybody telling, okay, I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to do this. It's like, oh, like that. It's adorable.
That's the thing is like, I understand. And look, this even got expressed in a couple of my interviews, right? When I asked for like, give your assessments to the people, they're like, I don't want to do that because what if I feel the exact opposite way about them. That's kind of the allure of these types of things.
Yeah.
Look, the entire Survivor experience, not to boil it down to you being publicly embarrassed for an entire 3-month sojourn, but like there will be many times when times you were wrong are going to be exposed.
Change your mind.
So like, yeah, like make some concrete statements, allow us to have something to chew on, live in that, and then be happy if it ends up getting proven wrong down the line.
Okay. Did Kevin give you any specifics about people he was vibing with or not so much?
Yeah, so he got good vibes. He didn't really give any bad vibes. He gave a lot of good vibes, though. So he talked about this story of an older woman who he had a connection with.
Yeah,
like that
over the ranch, right?
Yeah, that meet cute at the ranch. I believe that was Chrissy.
Okay. All right.
Where he was very much maybe not, she was not picking up what he was putting down, which was the ranch, right? Where she's like, oh, hello, work with me right now. And then of course, again, we get into the Avengers that he pointed out, which is Captain America, which I assume is David.
Yeah.
We have the Hulk, which is Joe, and Falcon, who I believe is Kyle.
Makes sense. Okay. Yeah. None of those are on the tribe with Kevin. And he's got the big plan to, stay thirsty, my friend. He is going to just keep drinking all the water so he has to go back to the well 1,000,000 times.
Yeah, I think this might be the first time when Jeff has to like come out to the Vula tribe and be like, you have run out of water. I will, if you sit out of this immunity challenge, I will give you enough water.
This is a great plan until you're sleeping in the shelter next to Kevin and he has to wake up 72 times during the night to pee.
Exactly. I mean, maybe Cedrik's like, all right, I think you might need to get something checked out. I know that's not my area of expertise, but like something's going on there.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's come back to Kevin when we go through our group as a whole. Let's talk about Mary. Boy, there was something about Mary. I really enjoyed hearing from Mary.
All right, Kevin, just don't go to Kevin's special hair gel.
Yes. Kevin, is that hair gel? Yes. Yes. You've been running off so many times. Okay. So, what an interesting story, Mary. Interesting
what a wild
person.
Story for Mary. And it's really fun as well. And it goes to show, again, why everyone kind of comes to Survivor, I would imagine primarily to win the $1 million and the title. But also, for a lot of people, there is this like sense of personal accomplishment that comes with it. And somebody like Mary, who's kind of like, in the midst of learning that while there is someone named Charity on this season to not necessarily give into charity sometimes, that she has dedicated her life just due to her parents' history and how she's been raised to like over giving, to giving too much of herself to others. And this is kind of like one of those prime opportunity tests to have the ability to say no and to really be able to make decisions for yourself first and foremost.
Yeah. She talked about so many different things from her past and her background with her work. So lots of interesting stories there. She wants to be very social, also like a Caleb. He comes up a lot.
He does come up a lot, which is interesting because, I mean, isn't the cautionary tale of Caleb is like, if you do that, you're going to stick out way too much and
Mhm.
get targeted, at the biggest opportune moment you can after your shot in the dark is expired. But maybe it's this sort of Tobias Funke, like, but it can work for me,
Yeah.
Like, maybe it's like Kenzie was able to make it work when Caleb wasn't.
But it is interesting to me, Mike, to, the people that sort of like, we're so like in the present of like going through every single thing. But like then when we get like a little further away from things, like the people that have sort of like resonated and stand out and like made impressions on people that, Caleb is somebody who very much from that season, he ends up being one of like the, 3 or 4 most talked about people.
Yeah, and I think it also helps from like an underdog and tenacity perspective as well. We don't really have a lot of
Mhm.
those stories in the new era. I think maybe we'll see with 49. Like, I'll be intrigued to see if Rachel becomes a part of that
Yeah.
narrative as like somebody who fought against the odds. What's really interesting, and I think probably the most vital skill for Mary, is her crisis management skills. Obviously, coming from her working on a suicide hotline to now her current job as a substance abuse counselor, like the ability to stay calm under pressure is probably would be an understatement in terms of how vital it is to that job. And so I do really see Mary, who, again, kind of like Cedrik to me, comes across as so calm and so measured, so deliberate, right? This is a person that
Yeah.
like took her time answering my questions. And I think that's something really valuable to have in an ally who will give you that time of day.
She has a duality to her. She describes herself as both obsessive and easygoing. And I found that to be relatable.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting the way, I mean, she had so many like really choice quotes from my interview, like things you could almost like cross stitch or write in the forward of a self-help
Like, I
novel.
hate Taylor Swift.
Exactly. I mean, that's something that would just sell millions on Etsy. But I do think that the way that Mary had spoken about how overgiving also gives you a hunger for control at the same time of like, because you have the power to be able to give to others,
Yeah.
it then also kind of fills you with this odd sort of self-satisfying narrative of like, aha, I'm the one that's in charge of helping you in this moment. And how she admits, I will say this is a very like I don't know, like self-actualized group in particular on Vula. A lot of people are like more than happy to be upfront with their foibles and acknowledging how it might work for and against them. I think the big question with Mary, and in particular, I think about the next 2 people we're going to talk about as well, which is like, it's great when you acknowledge your possible faults. It's another thing to actually try to nip that in the bud out on the beach when you have so many other elements working against you.
Yeah. Her hot take is I don't think Applebee's is good. Not the hottest take.
Well, maybe to certain alumni, it might
Yeah.
be.
It's Liz Wilcox. Let's just talk about her likes and dislikes in terms of people.
Mhm.
She talks about a taller black guy. Is this Kyle?
That's Kyle. Talking about
Okay.
the inch of the afro. Yeah, that's him.
Yes. Okay. She likes the gay person with a mustache.
That's
Thomas.
Thomas.
Okay. Doesn't like the girl with the hair. Do we
So
know who
he,
this is?
so the girl with the dark, thick hair, I would imagine that's Bianca. And I don't know if
Okay.
it's like hair jealousy or anything.
All
She
right.
did also
Well,
mention though that there is a tanner Asian man that she wants to work with, and he happens to be on her tribe in
that's
Kevin.
Kevin. Okay. All right. I was gonna say that none of these other people are on her tribe. Okay. All right. There's Mary. Anything else from Mary?
I will say, so I can mention a couple of these other ones as well. Again, the CBS Survivor Instagram account when the cast dropped like little fun facts about each castaway. So Mary, as we talked about in her interview, loves to make music.
Mary.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Mary likes to make music on the side. Her fun fact was that she uses YouTube to MP3 converters for all my music. And Rob, would you believe it? This comment went semi-viral in
hmm
the week in change since the Survivor 48 cast has dropped.
Yeah. I had seen it. I didn't realize how far it had gone.
Yeah, it's got like I think I got 60,000 likes or something on
Good for
Twitter.
Mary.
The CBS Survivor account like reposted her picture with the tweet behind it as well. So Mary's already already pinging on our screens even less than a month before we actually see her on our screens.
She's on her way. Okay. All right. Let's talk about Say.
Let's talk about Say here, because Say had a lot to say. She was a big personality. And again, you talk about somebody who talks a big game, yet admits to a lot of the things that might work against that game. I think Say is like part and parcel for that argument.
Okay. Say used to work in paid media at NBC. I could use somebody like that.
Yes, exactly. I wonder if she had access to Dondi screeners. Does she know what happened on the Traders?
It sounded like she was like doing like print media and billboards and stuff like that.
I was gonna say she could have warned Thomas about that. All his buildup for Dorinda being on the Traders if he knew that she knew all the spoilers.
I forgot about that. Yeah. Okay. She talks a lot about having watched Survivor 42. Was very influential in her wanting to play the show.
Yeah. So I think it's because she manifested this image and mentioned it so many times, almost as much as Justin mentioned Luigi's. But I very much get a big Drea vibe from Say. Like, I think she is somebody...
One of the fan favorites, for sure. Beloved Drea.
Exactly. I think she is somebody who is going to come in and, like, take charge. I think a lot of people in the new era especially talk a lot about in those first 3 days, like, well, I don't want to step forward too much. You know, I'm willing to sit back. Cedrik lead from the rear. Stephanie's going to talk about it as well. I think Say is more than happy to just start speaking her mind immediately. And I think that is going to command a good amount of power early on. Like, I think there will be plenty of people willing to say, yeah, go ahead. Fine. You can speak up about this. You be the mouthpiece, because, like, worst comes to worst, you're going to be the one that gets targeted as the big threat in the individual game, or even if the rest of the tribe decides to turn on you over me.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting to see like who the vocal leaders are on this tribe. And I'm not sure if any of the three men are necessarily going to be that person. And so, like, I think that there's definitely going to be a opportunity for Say if she wants to lead this tribe.
And what's interesting is Say, again, has a lot of big suppositions that she makes. You know, in her 1 minute video, she talks about, like, I can't understand soft or super emotional people. I admit that I'm very reactive. She admits in my interview, like, I'm very emotional. I'm a little too nosy. But the thing is that Say also...
Or newsy.
Exactly. From my interview with her, she also has this lightness to her. Though she says her superpower is that she's able to make, you know, any awkward situation into something fun. And so, while I do feel like on the surface, you look at those qualities and you're like, she's way too hard-headed. She's going to bulldoze her way through the game. Nobody is going to like her. She does have this, like, sense of humor and personality to her as well that I could see as a way to get people on her side and not just feel like she has to kind of, like, you know, grab people around the shoulders and be like, you're coming with me, my way or the highway.
Yeah, I didn't really get that from her in terms of, like, what she was saying. So I'm not too worried about that in terms of her on the tribe. She has some hot takes, though. She says Malcolm is mid.
Yeah, this was pretty wild. Yeah, that she thought that maybe she's out of the world of Sophie Clark, right? Who infamously called her shot back during the Three Amigos Tribal Council, being like, this is all sizzle and no steak. Even over a decade later, Say's like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. Mike, let's talk about who she's vibing with. She likes Mohawk with curly black hair. Who is that?
All right, so this is very fun. This is, again, why I love people just putting themselves out there in the preseason. So Say, I'm fairly sure, is talking about Shaheen, because he does have this California vibe to him. But I love the assumption that she thinks he, like, owns this surf shack and is doing Shaka Bro at all times.
Shaheen has a mohawk?
That's the way people were kind of describing it as, like, a mohawk mullet.
Okay.
Vibe.
All right, yeah. All right. I didn't get that. Okay. But she had some strong dislikes of a couple of people. Let's start with pulled back hair. Is this Bianca also?
No, this is Charity. So
Charity.
This is someone that we will get into in our next podcast. Charity, I would say, I'd say the three main people that were talked about the most in this cast were Shaheen, once again, was Stephanie, and was Charity. Charity was giving forward, I think, a lot of vibes to people of, like, I can't read her. She's a little closed off. And Say is one example of that.
Okay. Well, Charity, we'll talk about her the next time we do one of these. But okay, there was a lady who's doing art.
and that is Stephanie.
Stephanie. Okay, who we're going to talk about next. She did not like the art lady.
Well, and it's not even the fact that she didn't like art. It was more so that she felt, and with Charity as well, that they were like purposely making a show about it. You know, like, oh,
no,
look
I'm not
what
saying
I'm
that she
doing.
doesn't like art. She did not like the lady who was doing the art.
Exactly. So it'll be very interesting to see how that manifests on the beach. I mean, if Stephanie immediately starts going off and gathering berries and the like to start painting the tribe flag, then we know we'll have a problem.
Okay. All right. This is a great jumping off point to get to Stephanie, who I'd love to bring into this. And Stephanie was so interesting to hear from because I think that Stephanie is another person who, like Mary, has like these two sides to her. Like, I think in some ways she's a little bit like has, I think, like some Kendra to her, but also is doing a Monte Carlo simulation about using the shot in the dark versus using the idol, and is studying, doing research on the stats on all these different things. I feel like that those are two very different parts of a personality.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that Stephanie's personality and the way that she appears, including in this picture, is like very quirky, right? She has the big sun hat that we see in some of this B-roll footage. I mean, the way everyone's talking about her, for the most part, really with the exception of Say, there are largely very positive things that are being said about Stephanie, is that like she has this very fun vibe to her. She kind of gave me a little bit of Krista Hasty.
Yeah, I was going to say that too. Yeah.
Yeah. So, will she find a Rupert out there? But I think what's interesting is that she is this very big, brainy person, to your point, where she did these survivor sabermetrics to figure out, okay, the shot in the dark actually has a better chance of working sometimes than playing a hidden immunity idol. She is very cerebral. And so that's a dichotomy that can be very fun. You know, if she is able to get past what I think would be the hardest stage for her, which is maybe these first few rounds, where if you're looking for a quote unquote weak link on the tribe, it might be her. She is someone who, like a Carolyn, some even heard this before, Rob, could be underestimated.
Could be
her
underestimated.
personality, and then come forward and be like, nope, I have all these really great ideas of how we should proceed tactically.
Okay. Now, Mike, she told you she heard Survivor Amazon's not supposed to be that good?
Yeah.
What the hell?
Well, aren't you the person
who said that?
I'm not entirely sure. Let's check Shannon Gus's little chart of what season you should watch The Order in. Maybe the call's coming from inside the house.
Okay. All right. Can we talk a little bit about Stephanie's likes and dislikes?
I think we absolutely should.
Okay.
All right. So she's getting good vibes from Thomas. She said that Thomas was having a brat summer. He was listening to Charlie XCX. She was listening to Cowboy Carter, recent Grammy winner. She hoped they could get on the same page. Thomas said as well, he said, like, best case scenario, we're both wearing purple. We're on the same boat. Unfortunately, would not be the case, but maybe they have the chance to link up come the merch.
Maybe there's a swap or something like that. But yeah, so sorry for Stephanie. Sorry for you. Okay.
She also did vibe with Cedrik as well.
Okay.
She said that he was the guy that was like saying thank you to, the staff, and she very much appreciated that. So that could be a link up as well on the beach.
Okay. That's good.
Yeah. And then bad vibes. I don't think she really gave anything specific. She was very much one of those people that's like, I'm keeping the door open for anybody. I'm not picking up any bad vibes from people because I don't want to immediately discriminate.
Okay. Also about Stephanie, she said that every advantage is a disadvantage. The only problem is that her research only went through Survivor 46. And then the winner of Survivor 47 did play the shot in the dark, played an advantage, and also successfully played an idol at the final 6.
Yeah, Rachel's really going to weight those statistics once Stephanie recalibrates following the last season.
But that's how this works. It's like the pendulum swings all the way to one side, and then it swings like all the way back to the other side. But like, oh my God, I got to do everything in my power to get the idols and the advantages. And then people end up losing. And like, oh, okay. Oh, I can't touch it. All right.
Yeah, and then that's something interesting that Kevin talked about, right? Which is like, okay, we just saw 46, so now everyone's going to want to play their idols, but now it's going to kind of be this like double reverse psychology of, okay, so now if they're going to play their idols, do I need to play my idol? Because the people are going to assume that I'm going to want to. So as always, it'll be really interesting to see this season as sort of an echo of the last season that they saw before it.
All right. So Mike, that being said, and we'll try to keep some of these names up as we talk about people. Okay, for Stephanie, I feel like her and Say, I feel like only one can survive this tribe.
Yeah, so the way I look at things, to be quite honest, is I don't know if it'll be like a clean break, but I see at least early on, Rob, and this is maybe manifesting something delicious as a nice calzone from Luigi's Pizza. I see a possible 3-3 forming on Vula
Okay.
here. I see Stephanie, Cedrik, and Justin together.
Okay.
Because I think that
Stephanie, Cedrik, Justin.
Because I think Stephanie and Cedrik, I think they have a lot in common. You know, they both come from leadership positions from their job. I think they would both have like a very similar headspace in terms of what needs to get done around camp. Stephanie and Cedrik are also already vibing each other, right, in the preseason. And I feel like Justin is also like a very hard worker who is somebody that has a little bit more of a grounded personality that would vibe with them maybe a bit more than these other three, which are Kevin, Mary, and Say. Say had said that she was eyeballing wanting to work with a nerd. She wanted to work with people that she's not used to typically working with.
She's never hung out with a nerd before.
Yeah, which is like wild to me, especially the day and age that we live in. But like Kevin's big thing, right, is that like he is a nerd. He just got really buff in his preparation for Survivor. So I could see the two of them working well together. And Mary was already seeking out Kevin as well as someone prospectively to work with. So I agree that like this Say Stephanie dynamic could become contentious almost immediately. And then it might become a matter of like, gather your allies and we'll go to war.
Yeah. I wonder if it's less of a 3-3 and more of a 5-1 of like, does one sort of end up picking up everybody versus the other one?
Yeah, I will say going to Stephanie's chances, again, she is such an interesting wild card. I do think this tribe has a bit of a good amount of wild cards to them because she is somebody who, again, I could see just given her career background and her confidence is someone that could be vocal in those first few days. And that could work really well for a tribe like Vula, which to your point might remain voiceless in terms of leadership, or it's something that could put her in hot water immediately. She admits she is not the physically strongest. So if she gets past that first tribal phase or at a phase where like physical strength is the most important thing to vote on, I do think she is someone that could become dangerous. A lot of people want to work with her in the preseason. And I think she's someone that could truly be underestimated and come out swinging if she needs to.
I just think it's interesting that I feel like that the three men in this tribe, I feel like are more sort of in the go with the flow category. And I feel like that the three women seem more strong-willed, where a lot of times we talk about these tribes, they're like, oh, this guy is going to butt heads with this guy for who's going to be the leader. Like, I feel like that I get the sense with this group that the women are going to be like a little bit more dictating how, what direction this tribe is going.
I agree. And it should be very interesting to that point. Will it be, I guess, too many cooks or pizza makers in the kitchen here? Where, again, I think that Stephanie and Say would be two of the most outspoken people early on. Are they going to immediately say like, yeah, all the women should work together right here, we can easily take these guys out? Or will it immediately turn to contentiousness of like, yeah, I don't want her around in this moment. We could keep these guys and get rid of them anytime. They seem no threat to us.
Mike, anything else you're seeing with this group as we head into the season?
I guess we should ask, Rob, we did this for the Loggy as well. Who do you anticipate would go the furthest on the Vula tribe this season?
Oh, this is a tough question because I was very impressed with Justin in looking back at this. And I was a little taken by surprise because I wasn't expecting to be a little blown away by Justin, but you know, he has the long hair thing. This is such like a tried and true survivor of, you know, the dude bro sort of like being underestimated, and especially somebody who is so smart. And we had this like as recently as Austin in Survivor 45. I just feel like that people just see the long hair. Andy also, they sleep on this person. And then Justin is, such a smart guy. Seems like he really knows the show particularly well. Seems like that he is very easy to get along with. So he's strong. He's a swimmer, right? He is, I think, going to sneak up on people. He doesn't have like muscles like where, oh my God, we got to get rid of him. So I think he's somebody who's like right in the middle of a bunch of like really good categories.
I completely agree. I mean, look, the fact of the matter is when you're trying to pick new era winners, and there's a couple of exceptions, but you want to try to pick somebody who like will stick out as somewhat of a threat to make themselves pop in the final tribal council, but not so much that they'll get targeted during this, interminable 9-8-7-6 streak that we usually get into in the end game. And so I agree. I think Justin is somebody that really does fit that bill and is able to perfectly fit this happy medium of like, okay, I have this secretly brainy background and especially a political background as well, which is really interesting, but you won't expect it from me in multiple ways. Also, the fact that, as I talked about last time, client services jobs, incredibly important. And that's what Justin does in managing not only his workers, but in managing customers too. I'm really between him and Kevin as the person I think will make it further. Again, I'm just really putting a lot of my eggs in this basket of Kevin is someone that comes across so friendly and so smiley. And also, while the buffest person on his tribe, once he ends up joining up with the other Avengers, will not be seen as a big threat whatsoever. And so I could see if enough people get cold around him and Kevin's able to like use that Barry's boot camp to his advantage at the end, string together some stuff, he could be sitting in the final three and have like the perfect formula to be able to put forward a win. But I think both of those guys, it's pretty much the same point, which is I think they both have the ability to be important to their tribe in the pre-merge, but also have the capacity to be underestimated in the individual phase enough to go far.
I want to highlight Mary just a little bit more also because that she's somebody who I think is just so interesting as a person and as a player. I think that she seems like she's so genuine and authentic and really knows herself so well. But she identifies with Ben Driebergen. And it seemed like that specifically she liked when Ben had to be the spy and go over into enemy lines and pretend like he was working with Chrissy and of
Ryan.
course, Ryan. Yeah. And who's, I'm sure, very sad about Eli Manning.
Yes, exactly. Very true. But yeah, I'm really intrigued to see what Mary gets up to. Like, Mary does feel like somebody that will kind of use this game as an opportunity to, again, be able to flex those muscles that she doesn't normally get to do in the great service she contributes to society, where she like might be a little bit of a schemy Mary. She might be someone that's willing to run around and do some more duplicitous things. And so I think she's going to be a lot of fun to watch. That's also my general take on a lot of this tribe, Rob, is that I do think this is full of a lot of these characters that are going to be willing to try a lot. And for some, it might blow up in their faces. For some, it might just be like par for the course in this season where like, if everyone's blowing up their games, then nobody's blowing up their games at the same time. And so I am hoping some of these more combustive out there personalities do end up getting through to the individual game to truly make this a ride from beginning to end.
And then, the tribe is so interesting. Stephanie, please bring your research and let's, this is like an off-season podcast waiting to happen.
Oh yeah. Well, she's already got multiple bookings lined up. She's going to be on the Love Island panel this summer. She'll be on Drag Race next season. I mean, I always love a like dyed-in-the-wool reality TV fan, as someone who does the reality flash and is a fan of just the genre in general. I loved getting to queen out with Stephanie about some drag queens and more on there.
Okay. And then I'll say for Cedric, please invite me to your TED Talk.
Yes, I think, you know what? Honestly, like Cedric, like read me to sleep. Just like read me anything. Read me any sort of research you have on colorectal cancer, because he has, again, such a plaintive personality. And I will say, like, let's go Kiki anytime you come back to the East Coast, because I loved hanging out with her. She has such a great laugh. She is.
Oh wait, who?
Say.
Say. Okay, I think you wanted to Kiki with Cedric.
Oh, Cedric, let's hit the town.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I thought Say was such a fun personality. I really forecast an outcome for Say where, again, she is like such a commanding force in the pre-merge, and then like as soon as the Mergatory hits, I could very much see a scenario where everyone's like, yep, she's an easy person to get rid of. But regardless, no matter how long she's going to be on our screen, she is so sure of herself, warts and all, that I think she's going to be a very fun character to watch, especially if she decides to like take this tribe and run with it.
Okay. All right. Mike, there you go, Vula tribe.
2/3 down, baby. 6 more to go.
Okay. Mike, you want to tease anything from this next tribe we're going to hear about over the next couple of days?
Oh, Rob, you know how much of a tease I am. And tease I will. So, yes, starting tomorrow, I will start my interviews with the Siva tribe. I will Siva you tomorrow, bright and early, for my interviews with Charity and Chrissy. Then Wednesday will be my interviews with David, a.k.a. Captain America, a.k.a. Giga Chad, a.k.a. Guy Who Swallowed Tom Cruise, and Camilla. And then we finish it up on Thursday with my interviews with Kyle and Mitch. And then Friday, Rob, you and I will finish off the week by getting together one last time, giving some brief thoughts on everything to do with these 6 people. And
on Valentine's Day.
On Valentine's Day, and forecasting who will fall in love and who will have their hearts broken by each other out there on the island.
Okay, great stuff. Of course, you can hear all of that in our We Know Survivor podcast feed. Big week coming up next week on the podcast, or I'm sorry, this week on the podcast, as we're recording a little before we drop this on Monday. It's the RHAP 15th anniversary celebration all week long. We are celebrating the podcast's quinceañera as it turns the big 15 years to celebrate the 15th place winner from Survivor All-Stars. So we have so much in store. Check out all about some of the stories of lore, where you hear Mike Bloom and many others talking about sharing their lore, all history of RHAP. You can hear that in our podcast feed. Go to robinswebsite.com/subscribe. Okay, Mike, what else is coming up for you?
Well, happy to contribute to the laurel and hearty handshake, Rob, that you deserve for all the great stuff you put through, including to this day. Of course, by the time this is coming out, all my written versions of the Survivor 48 preseason interviews will be out over at parade.com. If you want a bit of a sneak peek as to what the Siva tribe is all about. And to fill out a bit of the time between now and when the season begins, I'll do some of these like roundup pieces, like I'll compile everyone's favorite Survivor moments, what they're feeling about each other, to Rob's point, the likes and dislikes, good vibes and bad vibes. And then, Rob, believe it or not, another Wednesday passed and another cast for a CBS reality show dropped. The cast for The Amazing Race 37 dropped last week. I did a Reality Flash episode with Jessica Lees where we confirmed.
I listened. It was great stuff.
Thank you. We will be back for coverage starting on March 5th, which will be the week after Survivor premieres. And lots of stuff, Rob. It's a season of surprises coming up on The Amazing Race this season.
Okay. So be sure to check that out. And of course, we'd love to hear you in the comments. So let us know what you're thinking about the Vula tribe. Take care, everybody. Have a good one. Bye.